Lucky Shots Media here as we are back for this week, ready to go. We're past the halfway point, kind of gearing up, I believe, a week away from some fantasy football trade deadline. So still obviously in the thick of things, people looking to make a playoff push. We're going to go down through the games and get you the fantasy advice from Ricky Larson himself. Ricky, good to be back. And congrats on your nice call on the Jets, outright upsetting the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I got to pick an upset every week, and games like that, trap games, Jets come in with a decent record. Why not? And it was kind of shaky, but hey, it got done.
Yep, love it. Yep. The Jets all of a sudden have gone over their win total. That was like the most public bet thing. I'm laughing at that the whole offseason. And Joe Flacco, they're good. I don't know what it is. Robert Saleh, congrats to him. All right, Thursday Night Football. Let's start with the Falcons and the Panthers. I mean, just right off the bat, we've got decisions here. Algier somehow still part of the offense, fantasy relevant. Cordero was huge, but mostly in the end zone. Looks like Hubbard's going to be back for the Panthers. And Foreman, obviously, who doesn't have more of a passing down effect, he was absent after his 30-point performance. Do you start Mariota? He had a terrible game last week. Just your general thoughts here on what's probably going to be a crap game or maybe a fantasy bonanza on a Thursday.
I think we got spoiled the past couple weeks with some decent Thursday night games. I think we're going back to the early weeks of Thursday night football this year with this game.
Yeah.
I think you can start Cordero. I think you're fine there. Algier was supposed to be my big play last week, and then we got the news late in the week that hey, Cordero's going to play, and he came in, played just fine. I think he scored like 16, 18 points. So
yep,
didn't really miss a beat. I think he'll be okay there. I really struggle to play anything else. I mean, we are still in the thick of bye weeks. So there's a possibility if you got Deontay Foreman, you still got to play him, which I don't know. You play him and just pray that it's not going to be Chuba Hubbard cutting into that. It's not going to be any of the other backs. And that's really all I can muster up to actually play. I don't trust the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily trust the receivers. If you like DJ Moore, then this is a game where you think you can still play him because Atlanta's defense isn't all that great, but I wouldn't want to play DJ Moore this week if I had that choice.
Any receivers or receiving core, is Pitts a no-go?
Yeah. I think he had 2 catches for 27 yards last week.
Yeah.
I mean, it helped me go over you in the one prop bet we had because he had just 2 catches. The other guy had 1. So, it paid off there. But yeah, I still struggle to play Kyle Pitts at any point so far. Hopefully he makes his way away from Atlanta sometime soon.
Any interesting guys you would maybe stream over Mariota, like Dalton? You're high on Jacoby Brissett. Would Brissett go over him?
Yeah, I would definitely play Brissett over Mariota. And again, it's a curb your expectations type of thing, but I think Brissett can sit anywhere from that 15 to 20 range. I've got him, about 18, I think, this week. So I just think, and I didn't mention it on my show, but I think this is the last week before Deshaun Watson comes back. Is Watson back next week or is it the week after?
I thought he wasn't until like 13. I could be wrong.
I thought it was like 11 games. So it might be like, but I think we're going to see Jacoby Brissett really try to just be like, hey, I know you paid him all this money. Just maybe if I play really good, can I keep playing?
It's his team the whole year,
Yeah, I think he's going to really try to show out these next 2 weeks. So I think he's a great streaming option.
All right, let's move to, we got another London game. They're just peppering us with over the pond, so set your alarms. Is it time to start thinking about Tom Brady as a, plug-in starter again? Like, Geno, we've gushed about on, again, Lucky Shots Media, check it out. We gushed about Geno, but your thoughts on potentially this matchup here, Seattle-Tampa?
So this isn't London. This is Germany. They're going to Munich, Germany to play this game.
How can I keep up?
I don't know. My girlfriend asked me, why do they play all these international games?
Well, it's because there's going to be a Europe division all of a sudden.
And I'm like, people across the pond, they like soccer. They
The other football.
They
Yeah.
don't necessarily care about football, but I mean, I guess if we're trying to expand, make it a worldwide kind of thing, maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to the fantasy relevancy of all of this. Brady, fun fact, he's 2-0 since getting divorced or all that happening.
That's a
So,
great tidbit. Yeah.
he's starting to play a little better. I think you can still comfortably play him. I've had to play him all year and it hasn't been anything spectacular, but anywhere from 15 to 20 a game. I think you
Yep.
can expect that this week. I think Gino will probably be the guy who is the better quarterback in that matchup. Obviously, it's a tough matchup against Tampa Bay's defense, but we can't not play Kenneth Walker.
No.
Dear Lord, this kid. I love him. He's been part of the reason that I'm making a comeback in fantasy leagues. So I think you gotta roll with him. And then receiver wise, who's Gino going to throw to if he's doing all right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to go with DK Metcalf. I mean, it's kind of been his guy all year, so let's go with DK there. On the other side, yeah, you can play Brady. Do you play Fournette? Do you play Evans? Do you play Godwin? Guy you like, Kate Otten. I
Yep.
think that's especially at a tight end position. I think if he can continue to get the targets he's been getting the last 3 weeks, I think he's playable.
Well, here's one for you because Evan Ingram has been reliable all year long until he left with an injury and he was fine until he wasn't this past week.
Oh,
where would you go with Kate Otten versus Evan Ingram this week if you were disappointed from his last performance?
So I haven't really been on Evan Ingram all that much.
Yeah.
Not really on Jacksonville all that much. So I think I'd go Kate Otten. It's a better offense, better quarterback. And from what I saw last week, because it was like one of the first games where I actually kind of paid attention to the Bucks, he seemed to be pretty involved. The announcers called him Mini Gronk, so I mean, why not? Let's go with it. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I mean, you'll probably throw them in, but
Yeah.
you don't really know what to expect. I needed a measly, I think 12 points out of Mike Evans last week and didn't get that. So
yeah, he disappointed for sure. And we'll see if he can bounce back. Yeah, I mean, running backs I think are your surest bet. You're starting Gino, you're probably starting Brady. And then receivers, you're probably going both Seattle. And then Evans, I think, is more sure than Godwin, right? Maybe not.
It just depends. I mean, if you look at it, they've been fairly even on targets or Godwin with more targets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just depends on who Brady likes that game, who doesn't get covered by the defense. So,
yeah, Godwin got a point more than Evans last week, actually.
Yeah. So it's hard to choose between those two. I think Evans has more of the touchdown threat, but Godwin has more of he'll get more targets, in my opinion. So,
sure. Jacksonville, Kansas City, you're starting Patrick Mahomes, you're starting Travis Etienne. Things get interesting from there. We just mentioned Ingram, but how about Christian Kirk? You don't know what you're going to get out of it's almost like, it's just a cloudy receiving core. Kirk, Marvin Jones, I'm seeing him projected for a little under 10. Is Ingram going to get back into the fold? Is ETN just going to carry and eat up all the fantasy points? And then what do we do with the Chiefs? Tony still kind of getting acclimated with the offense. And then Hardman, a guy you're high on, had a huge game last week, and he's trending upward.
Yeah, I think, honestly, you can start, besides Patrick Mahomes on that offense and Travis Kelce, I think you can start JuJu. I think you can start McCole Hardman. JuJu, we kind of talked about it on my show. I think he's finally starting to figure out that offense, figure out kind of the ins and outs and the improvisation that can happen. So I think he's starting to fit in well there. And then McCole Hardman is turning kind of into the Tyreek Hill utility guy that they like. Give him runs, get him short, quick passes, let him use his speed. So I think those two are definitely playable as well. And then on Jacksonville's side, I don't like any of the receivers. Yeah. And I would honestly just pivot away if you can. If not, then you got to go with Christian Kirk because he's the most solid out of any of them.
Right. The matchup intrigues me, right? If
Mm.
Jacksonville has to throw in it, Chiefs exactly not great at defending the pass. Yeah, it's interesting. And you said Hardman. It seems like he's been there forever, so he's obviously familiar with Patrick Mahomes and that Andy Reid offense. Should be interesting. ETN, where we were just gushing about him on your show. He's really come on. He's leaping up dynasty rankings, and he's really fantasy owners got a treat early once they traded James Robinson away.
Yeah, and we talked about it on my show. Is he going to get his 4th straight 100-yard rushing game? We both said yeah to that. So
Yep.
It's looking up for him.
I like it. Texans, Giants, you're starting Saquon. You're obviously starting him with full confidence. He's projected 24. You're starting Pierce. Daniel Jones is interesting as he's kind of leaping up the fantasy boards. You're going to roll him out comfortably against Houston?
If it's a streaming option, yeah, I wouldn't start him over your starter if your starter is in this week. But yeah, he's a streaming option for sure. It just kind of gets hairy once you get to like who's he going to throw the ball to besides Saquon? Because
Yeah, right.
it's just kind of all over the place so far this year. So I think you can stream him. I think you got to be a little more cautious on what you try to do with the receiving core because
For both
I
teams, right?
haven't.
You're kind of rolling the dice for any start. If you're thinking Wandale, if you're in some real trouble like I am, you got Darius Slayton in there. You're worried about him. Galladay might come back and it might muddy things even more. What is Cook's story? Cooks doesn't even want to play for his team anymore. Is he going to play? Nico Collins can't stay healthy. And then who is that guy? Moore who stepped up? Christian, maybe?
Something more because there's 2 like younger wide receivers that have made kind of splashes of 10 to 12 points throughout the past couple years that now are kind of stepping in and being like, hey, there's no one else. You got to throw to us now. So, but how about the tight end I talked about on my show? Tegan Quitoriano got a touchdown last week. I
Yes.
don't know if he's going to do much else, but he's starting in my DFS, and the tight end room is thin as it can be. You need a flyer, and everybody else is taken. I guarantee that guy is sitting on your waiver wire. So
I
why
like
not
it.
see what he can do?
Talk about efficiency. 1 target, 1 reception, 1 tutty. I like it. All right. Yeah. So let's move on to the Vikings. Bills, keep your eye on the injury report for Josh Allen. And what I'm thinking is, you're going to start Diggs because you got to throw it to that top target, even if it is Case Keenum. Nyheim Hines barely saw the field. But what if Case Keenum's out there and this just sets up for Dink and Dunk City? Like, is he a stash candidate? I don't think you could start him with any confidence. And again, this is all barring on Josh Allen's health.
Yeah, Keenum. I wouldn't play Keenum. I think you can still be okay with guys like Stephon Diggs and Devin Singletary is kind of a guy we don't really talk about. I mean, he's in kind of that 10-point range, but talk about kind of stepping up from what he used to be. At least now they've got some sort of running game that isn't just Josh Allen. And maybe they lean on that a little more this week with if Allen's not in. So Devin Singletary could be kind of a sneaky play in there.
Right.
But on the other side, Kirk Cousins, the streaming quarterback himself,
Yeah.
Mr. Frosty Ice or whatever the hell that video was of him on the plane. And
He's a weird dude.
He's something. But Justin Jefferson for sure.
Yep.
TJ Hawkinson. I think he's turned into a for sure as well. And then Dalvin Cook. You're gonna play him because he's Dalvin Cook, but you got to be a little wary just because it is a pretty good Buffalo defense. How much is he going to be involved, and is he going to be efficient? So that's going to be a little tricky there.
That's a great point. Going back to Cousins, would you start him or Brissett?
Brissett.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think the matchup is better for Brissett, and Cousins. If he does outscore Brissett, it's going to be garbage time.
Right.
Because if this game is close, it's not going to be as much passing. There will be passing, obviously, but it'll be more maybe we're up by a few points. We're going to run a little more. And then you kind of phase Kirk Cousins out of that, big time points category. So,
And we're
I
moving
like
into our next game there to kind of just, would you do Cousins or Jared Goff as they're kind of 1-2 on top of each other too?
Cousins.
Okay.
I Chicago, let's be honest, has a real good defense, and Jared Goff is not an elite quarterback.
No.
So I don't like that matchup. I don't like the fact that it's Jared Goff. So yeah, I'd put Cousins.
Sounds good. Your must starting Justin Fields. He's been QB1 for like the last 4 weeks combined. He's been a stud. Is Mooney starting to creep back into people's hearts as a reliable guy? I mean, all of a sudden they're looking for people to throw to. Khalil Herbert, he's been on my bench just racking up points. I throw him in the starting lineup. Geez, it's tough, but obviously Fields the most sure thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna get real close to this mic. Everybody, do not get all worked up about Chicago receivers. Justin Fields still only threw for 123 passing yards last week.
Bingo. And he ran for 120.
He ran for like 178. He ran fine.
Yeah.
But 120 passing yards, that's not going to supplement any receivers that you may have. So don't go crazy. Start Justin Fields. Don't go crazy. I think maybe Cole Kmet is probably the only guy I'm comfortable starting because it's kind of been his main guy. I think he had 2 touchdowns last week. So 2 of the 3 touchdowns that he threw were to Cole Kmet. That's probably the only receiving option I'd throw in there for the Bears.
And kind of overall, right? Do you like Amon-Ra St. Brown? Do you like what's going on with Swift? It's been tough go for the Lions.
Yeah, tell me about Swift, man. I made a trade for him because I was like, all right, he had some good games. He's going to have 2 weeks. They're going to let him rest. Then the bye week. Then he's going to come back. Didn't come back. Came back the 2 weeks after. He's been limited. Been more Jamal Williams. I'm getting frustrated with it. I think you still got to start Swift because, I mean, he's one of those like considered higher running backs. But if you've got the chance to maybe go get Jamal Williams and start him over Swift, I might do that because he's been honestly more involved. And I don't know when they're going to finally be like, okay, Swift, we're not scared of you getting hurt again. Go ahead and play.
Right.
Kind of where we've been sitting with it.
Here's some, I'll let you get a swig there. It was kind of cool how your neon sign was reflecting off the top of that. It looked like there you go. It's some good stuff there. So let's get some start sits. DeAndre Swift, I'm just going to throw a couple at you and you can rank them, right? All right. So let's go Swift, Sanders, Najee, Jamal.
I would say Sanders at that 1. He's been a sneaky, good guy there. Then I would put Jamal over DeAndre Swift, and then Najee just at the bottom there. Najee's been just god awful this year. I don't understand it after last year being so damn good. This year's just been tough.
Crazy. If I was to throw Fournette into that mix, where would he fall in that 4?
He'd fall in 4th. He'd fall over Najee, but not over the other guys.
Gotcha. Like it. Well, let's go to Najee's team. Steelers, Saints. What do you do here? Pickens, all of a sudden, you can't trust. Who do you trust even in this game? You've got Olave, and then I'm Kamara, obviously. Yeah. But where else are you going in this game, fantasy-wise?
DFS-wise, I went with some Juwan Johnson. So, maybe you can think about him.
Value play.
You got to go with Olave. I mean, it's struggle bus, but I mean, he's been fairly consistent. He hasn't had any like big time boom games, but he's going out and getting you 12, 15, 16 points, so I think you can still kind of trust him. But that one's tough too. Remind me who their opponent is.
Steelers, Saints.
Steelers, yeah. So Steelers side, you just got to give one of those because you don't know. I mean, is Kenny Pickett going to be decent enough in this game to supplement George Pickens. Pat Fryermuth, I don't like that because it's the Saints, and the Saints are tough as shit against the tight end position. So it's kind of a tough read on like actually playing anybody. I'm probably going to be playing Pickens this week if that helps anybody. But I mean,
Right.
it's a there you go. You're just kind of in
Right.
line.
Yeah. Plug
Do something.
and pray. You're poking him with a stick. Come on, do something. This one should be pretty easy. Browns, Dolphins. You're starting Tua. You're gonna, if Jacoby Brissett's available and you need a quarterback, we like him. Stream him. You're starting Waddle. You're starting Hill. Running back's interesting. Mostert. Jeff Wilson Jr., I think, was the hottest waiver wire option. Is he all of a sudden going to fall back off, or is he going to start stealing Raheem's carries? It's interesting because both those guys came from the 49ers, where Coach McDaniel did. Thoughts there?
Yeah, I think both the guys have fallen kind of into the flex category. I think those two you can put in your flex and be a little more comfortable than some other guys. But as far as like running back 1, running back 2, I don't know. It's hard to gauge because Mostert's been decent this year. Jeff Wilson comes in and throws out 16 points. Okay, so that's kind of tough. Other side, you're going to start Nick Chubb regardless.
Yep.
Amari Cooper. I'm pretty high on Amari Cooper. Let's toss him into that mix. Wide receiver 12 this year. He's knocking on the door top 10. And who's to say, when Deshaun Watson comes back, he doesn't just blast that door down and get inside the top 10.
And I bet he's wide receiver top 3 if you go home road splits. This dude loves the home fans. Cleveland, Oakland, Dallas. Go look at his stats at home games here. He's in Cleveland. No, he's not. Is this a road game in Miami? Maybe I'm a fool for this.
That's a great question. I don't know.
Wow. That would actually, I don't think it changes much you're playing him, but I was banking. I thought he had a home game, but this might be in Miami. Chubb starting, Peoples-Jones, keep an eye on Njoku's status. Maybe no, Njoku's questionable right now, but he says he wants to play. Do you, tight end, you're probably throwing Njoku, right, if you need him?
Yeah, I mean, I've got him sitting on my bench, and it's kind of a position of if he's going to play, I'm going to put him in. It's just kind of at that spot. Yeah, that game is in Miami.
Interesting. Well,
but I mean, shit, doesn't have to play in the cold. That kind of
that'll help. Yeah, Miami fans aren't exactly raucous. They're not going to be booing them heavily.
Yeah. So, but with Njoku, if he's going to play, I'm going to plug him in because we've seen consistency out of him. And let's be honest, what else do you have at tight end?
Yeah,
just depends there too. So,
Broncos Titans. This might be quick. Only confident starter out of this game, Derrick Henry. True or false?
True.
Yeah,
I would not touch anything else at all with maybe their defenses.
Yeah, sure.
Because honestly, like
I love the Titans defense.
Yeah, they're both their defenses are pretty good. If you were gonna play a defense, I'd play Tennessee's over Denver because Denver's not going to move the damn ball.
Nope.
Maybe this is the week they get it done, but as a Broncos fan, I watch their games. I'm like, this is bullshit. I could run a better offense on Madden. So it's tough, but you could probably start the Broncos defense too, especially because the Titans, if they're playing Malik Willis, could be turning the ball over a little bit.
Yep.
So
and lack of
Derrick
points.
Henry. Yeah, it's Derrick Henry or their defenses.
Love it. Cowboys, Packers. Cowboys have been that's a must-start defense. Dak, I'm surprised the projections aren't loving him. Even though you feel like you got to start him, but the projections aren't showing like he's going to pop off. It's almost like he's just kind of doing what he has to. Zeke's questionable. Don't know if he's going to play. If he doesn't, Pollard's obviously a must-start. CD, you're likely going there as well. Do you start anyone on the Packers?
I feel like maybe Aaron Jones is the only person you can even consider.
And keep an eye on the injury report for him as well.
Yeah. Which in the same cases, if Zeke is out, you could play Pollard. If Jones is out, I think you could play AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
But honestly, on the Cowboy side, I think you can still play Pollard even if Zeke's in.
Sure.
I played Pollard a couple weeks ago, which was when Zeke was out, and he was really good. Had, I think, 3 touchdowns, so that paid off. But even when Zeke is in, he's still super involved. And this is a Packers defense that isn't great. It's not what it used to be. They just lost Rashawn Gary.
Yeah.
They're going to be struggling. And, CD Lamb, yeah. Dak Prescott, yeah. How about some of the news that OBJ may be sprinkling his way on over to the Dallas?
I feel like I've heard 5 different teams over the last 5 weeks, and I just watched a buddy in a 12-team league stash. I think he drafted OBJ. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are he's in dead? He's almost in dead last. I'm like, it's hysterical. I mean, hey, maybe it pays off for him, but I highly doubt it.
Well, I can't say much. In 2 of my leagues, I had guys that just weren't doing anything, so I was like, fuck it.
Well, at least they have a jersey. Not sitting
I-
on the couch on Sundays.
Well, I threw Odell on just as a stash as well, because who knows? I mean, especially because the 2 guys I had to drop for him hadn't done shit. So
Sure.
I was like, let's throw Odell on there, see where he lands, if he lands anywhere. And, maybe he starts popping off for the end of the season, right when you need
For a
something
playoff run, that would be
playoffs.
interesting. Yeah. All right, keep an eye on that. With that, I mean, then you'd have to keep an eye on CD Lamb. That could be interesting in terms of value. Cardinals, Rams, Cup, you're starting. Hopkins, you're starting. James Conner, interesting week. Is he all of a sudden back in the fold? Rondale Moore's I have the most disgusting 12-team league you have ever seen, like roster you have ever seen in your league. Rondale Moore might be my best player. Like, seriously, it is that bad. Could you? I mean, is he's definitely a flex? Would you go that far?
I mean, shit, he outscored Hopkins last week,
Sure.
so I'm lost there with Hopkins. 2 huge weeks, and then all of a sudden he still got a touchdown, so it was still relevant. But Rondale Moore outscores him. Yep. Hell's up with that? And let's be honest, going up against Jalen Ramsey,
yes,
that could just be more for Rondale Moore. So I think you can comfortably start him and be okay with that. Everywhere else, kind of sell. Don't really like anything for the Rams besides Cooper Kupp, and that's really where I'm sitting. You like Higbee,
kind of
could get involved, but there's no running back position that you can trust for them. The rest of the receivers, is it gonna is Van Jefferson number 2? Is Allen Robinson number 2? Is it Ben Skoranek, who gets a few targets every game? So I'm just kind of out on the Rams.
I'm going to read you just the worst, and for the listeners, if you're having a bad fantasy season, listen to my team, what I'm doing. I somehow have, I have 3. Yeah, I'm 3-6. Chuba Hubbard, Jerick McKinnon, Rondale Moore. You just said him. Allen Robinson, my boy Cade Otton, at double flex league. Slayton, Marvin Jones Jr. Herbert's my quarterback, who I freaking hate. He is killing me this year. And then my best asset, the Cowboys defense.
I think Cade Otton might be that best asset. Shit.
Yes, thank you. He is. He is. All right. So that's disgusting, and that's what I get to look forward to setting every week.
You know what irritates me is that's your 3-6 lineup. You want to hear my 3-6 lineup?
Yeah, let's do it. I want to hear it.
So what pisses me off is that this team is 3-6 as compared to your 3-6 team. I've got Tua, I've got DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Walker, D-Hop, Chris Olave, throwing in your Cade Otton, picked him up this week. Devontae Smith, George Pickens.
Oh, Smith.
With Mike Williams on the bench, Curtis Samuel on the bench, and like I just said, OBJ sitting, in that little sleeper spot.
Let's, I feel for you. Sorry. Like, if you see my team and you're like, wait a second, huh? Well, let's talk about Devontae Smith. Last game, brutal. Yeah, a couple of last weeks, you're going, huh? Eagles, Commanders, what do we do?
You got to just sit Devontae Smith until he shows something. It's what I'm doing this week. He's going to ride the pine, probably in favor of Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
because Curtis Samuel at least is showing something. Yeah, it was only 3 catches for 70 yards, and one of them was a long touchdown where the referee played the best pick play you could ever see.
Great
Uh,
screen.
but it's just tough. I was really on the fence last week about possibly playing Smith in that Thursday night game. Luckily, I sat him out, and
Yeah.
it worked out for me because he got like 4 points, and that's
Right.
pretty much been his line all year. Which it's tough because you expect a lot out of him, but it's pretty much the AJ Brown show for those wide receivers.
Yeah, no kidding. It's and Sanders all of a sudden, running the rock, and Hurts obviously always running too. So it's interesting. AJ Brown, yeah, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen there. A Scary Terry comfortable start, or do you honestly, yeah, you like him more than Samuel? Samuel all of a sudden outgaining him with the touchdown.
It is what it is. We'll just say that.
Sure.
I think Curtis Samuel's still all right, but especially if it's Taylor Heineke, I still trust Terry McLaurin more with Taylor Heineke than uh Carson Wentz.
Yeah. No,
He's
right.
so irrelevant. I just forgot his name.
He is.
I still don't understand why that. And fun, interesting thing. They're trying to sell season tickets for next year,
Right.
and they're using Taylor Heineke as the poster boy for that.
Yeah.
What?
Are they using freaking Daniel Snyder too as he's selling the team? He's trying to sell season tickets. That actually might make the season tickets go more.
Yeah.
All right, last 2 games here. Ricky Larson, appreciate his insight as always. Chargers, 49ers, start CMAC, start Eckler. Chargers, did you like what you see out of Josh Palmer? He seems to always be on the injury report, but Herbert, unfortunately, looks terrible. I mean, would you go Herbert over Garoppolo versus Herbert?
Garoppolo, to be honest,
That
because
matchup,
just
yeah.
because he's got his weapons and Herbert does not. There's no Keenan Allen. There's no Mike Williams. Gerald Everett is whatever. Josh Palmer, it just comes down to who the hell else can Herbert throw the ball to, and it's just Josh Palmer right now. So
Yeah.
I think he's an okay start. He's been somebody that is just sitting on the waiver wire, staring at me, saying, "You want to play me? You want to play me." So he's a guy that I think you can play this week. Be definitely fine with that. Yeah, playing both the running backs, and that's really as comfortable as you can get.
What's the word with Debo? I mean,
he's been sitting on the injury report the last 2 weeks.
yeah. So he last played week 7 against Kansas City, and he had 9 points. I don't think that was with McCaffrey, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and it's the utility-ness that Debo had is really no longer needed.
They've got another Debo, a better Debo.
Where are we placing, the value of him? Because that was the value, that he's going to be a running back. He's going to be a wide receiver. Now they've got a running back, wide receiver, quarterback guy with Christian McCaffrey. So I think you're okay if you sit him this week and just kind of wait to see how it plays out, which kind of sucks. But hey, throw in Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
That's a guy that flies under the radar. Really liked him after his rookie year. Last year, they just hated him apparently because he didn't get much. But he's kind of showing out this year as well.
Last game, Colts Raiders. Yuck. True or false? You're starting any single Indianapolis Colt?
Their defense.
I like that. Is Taylor going to play too? I guess is a better question.
I think even if he does play, it's going to be limited. You're not really going to want to play him. If he was fully healthy, this would be a great matchup because the Raiders aren't that good against running backs. They give up a lot, but I don't trust that he's going to either play or play a full game. So then you've got to mix in guys like Deion Jackson, Phillip Lindsay. You just don't really know where that sits. Other side, damn it, my brain isn't here today. Colts are playing Good
Raiders.
Lord. Raiders, yeah. Other side, you're gonna play Devontae Adams regardless. As bad as Derek Carr is, you got to go Devontae Adams. Honestly, you might be able to, if Darren Waller isn't in, play Foster Moreau.
Okay. I remember we
Because
talked about this. Like, it feels like 6 weeks ago when I posed the question: is Darren Waller going to play a single game the rest of the season? And I'm asking the same question.
yeah, it's kind of up in the air. They just paid him that fat bag of money, and rumor was that Green Bay tried to go get him,
Yeah, how about that?
and they still didn't want to deal him. So I'm assuming he's going to come back and play at some point, because if they were like, he's probably not going to play the rest of the year, they might have been more willing to give him up. But they didn't. So I think he'll be back at some point. And then go ahead and start Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of an ugly play because it's a tough Colts defense, but we've seen enough out of Josh Jacobs so far this year that you can plug him in and at least hope for 15, with 30 being that higher end that he's put up before.
Would you? I mean, I feel like we can't trust Pittman Jr. again. Who's going to play quarterback? Jeff Saturday, is he even going to, what is he just going to run go routes the entire time as his first play calling duties? He's got an assistant coach calling plays who's never done it before. Would you start Pittman or Olave?
Olave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am more sold on Olave right now in that situation than Pittman in whatever this situation is. But hey, new coach, you talked about it on my show. They go out and they just play pretty well. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe Pittman goes out and gets 5 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Maybe Paris Campbell gets a big time play. Maybe Alec Pierce gets 7 catches. I don't know.
Gets more than 2 targets.
We're sitting here in a big I don't know stage for the Colts.
Oh, it's disgusting. Yeah. And maybe it opens up the playbook. Who knows? Yep. So check out the show, Lucky Shots Media. Great stuff all week, as you can stay up to date fantasy football and all things NFL. We talk betting as well when I hop on each week. Ricky, great stuff as always. Great to get you back on. We'll talk next week.
Yes. Thank you.